Good morning. Hey, how we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Cam Rogers Show on this Wednesday morning, April 4th, 2018. Tyler in the comments section already saying, hey, you got to love that loyalty here on the program. We thank you for coming along for the ride. I've got you covered for the next hour with the latest details surrounding this blockbuster deal that went down yesterday afternoon, the Brandin Cooks trade. He's now a Los Angeles Ram. So all your latest NFL headlines and insight, as we always do, kick things off with here on the Cam Rogers Show. Here's the rundown for the rest of the program. At the bottom of the hour, a new segment, an over-under debate. Some questions surrounding over-under on certain amounts for LeBron James and NBA Finals titles left in his career. Tiger Woods, how many more major championships for him? So it's a very audience-centered segment where you guys are a part of the show more so than ever before. So we look forward to that. And then a look ahead to the Masters 2018 edition, the 82nd Masters Tournament. I'm going through the marquee groupings, including Tiger, Phil, Spieth, Sergio. And I'll tell you who will win the Masters Tournament come Sunday afternoon at the end of the program. Let's get into it. Brandin Cooks, here is the deal. He's now a Los Angeles Ram. The Rams receive Cooks and a 2018 fourth-round pick. The Patriots get the 23rd overall pick and a sixth-round pick, respectively, both in 2018. This, you could essentially assume means that the run for Odell Beckham Jr. is now over for the Rams at the least. The Rams now have a wide receiver core comprised of Cooks, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods. Pretty solid trio there. Cooks also joins newcomers Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, and Ndamukong Suh. If you want to pick a team that has won the offseason so far, the Los Angeles Rams are your frontrunners at this juncture. Now, I believe, and I've been saying this for many weeks, the Rams are headed for some serious heights in 2018. Already have a ferocious defensive interior with Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh. An elite secondary, perhaps the best in the NFC, with Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters, both new additions. LaMarcus Joyner getting that tag. John Johnson as a safety, a young player who had a really good year. And then Nickel Roby-Coleman there in the secondary as well. Really good back end for the Rams. Linebacking core leaves a little to be desired, but that's okay when you have such a good front four and a really good secondary. Rock solid offensive line for the Rams as well with Andrew Whitworth and John Sullivan. Jared Goff making big-time strides as a quarterback in the NFL. So don't forget how aggressive Les Snead is willing to be here in free agency. He may not be done with trades, with free agency signings, whatever the case may be, trading in the NFL draft. Who the heck knows what Les Snead is going to do? But I'm telling you one thing, the Rams are going to be a force in the NFC and the NFL as a whole. And so teams like the Vikings, the Saints, the Eagles, all better watch out for this team. And I recently released a pre-draft edition of my power rankings where I had the Rams at 3, just behind the Saints as well as the Eagles. I am now hard-pressed to move the Rams up to number 2, bump back the Saints to number 3, and keep the Eagles at number 1. So Cooks is set to make $8.5 million this season, and it'll be up to the Rams to find a way to hold on to him while also working on a new deal with AD as well, Aaron Donald. So according to Ian Rappaport, Brandin Cooks and Jared Goff have actually been working out together recently. So building this rapport already. And this isn't the first time the Rams actually tried to trade for Brandin Cooks. Reportedly, they wanted to make a deal with the Saints back when Brandin was playing in New Orleans. So a question for you. We have a reaction poll here. Are the Rams Super Bowl 53 favorites? Are you buying into this team? Hit me with that heart for a yes, a like for a no if you are watching on Facebook Live. If you are watching on YouTube, hit me up in the comments section with a heart or a like. I track all of your comments, and we certainly appreciate when you guys throw your thoughts in. Now, the Patriots side of things. They are reportedly moving up or looking to move up in the draft. They have 4 of the top 63 picks in the 2018 draft, which begs the question, Are the Patriots stockpiling picks here to perhaps go out and grab a quarterback in that first round? According to one local Denver reporter, don't ask me why, it's a Denver reporter, by the way, the Patriots have interest in Josh Rosen. I have no idea how much credibility this has. This was a tweet that came out yesterday. The guy saying that he got a text and that the Patriots are interested in Rosen. But there you go. So that's kind of what I do here on the Cam Rogers Show. I report what I see and let you guys make the determinations in terms of how much credibility it really has. Now, this, for the Patriots, also fuels the Odell Beckham Jr. trade talks. Not so sure I'm going to buy into that either, but, you know, it's certainly a possibility here. I think the 49ers could step up and look into trading for Odell Beckham Jr. The Patriots certainly aren't out of the running, but I'm sure they want to see what they can get out of Philip Dorsett in more of a prominent role. Another report that came out from Rappaport, by the way, Brady is reportedly at peace with this move, not caught off guard, in fact, satisfied, thinking that Brandin Cooks maybe wasn't the best fit for the Patriots offense, and that Tom Brady is just fine with the services of Julian Edelman and Chris Hogan, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe Cooks moving on isn't such a bad thing for the New England Patriots. Maybe there really isn't no clear winner in this deal, and the Patriots are better off without Brandin Cooks. But on the surface, on paper, the Rams are building themselves a very formidable team heading into the 2018 season. As you see there, the wide receivers with Cooks, Woods, and Cooper Kupp, a couple of young tight ends as well. And, oh yeah, the Offensive Player of the Year in Todd Gurley. All right, so that's the latest with Brandin Cooks as we continue along here with the headlines on the Cam Rogers Show, presented by Man Crates. Head on to mancrates.com to check out great gifts that guys love. Here's Baker Mayfield. So he recently visited with the Browns. In this report coming out a couple of days ago, Baker wrapped up a 2-day visit with Cleveland. Rosen, Allen, Darnold are up next as well. So GM John Dorsey obviously doing his homework, as he should. The Browns have essentially worked out all 4 of the top quarterbacks. Now they're going through the pre-draft visit type of deal here. Hugh Jackson alluded to how it's the last piece in the process in terms of scouting. So the Browns doing every inch they can to put themselves in a prime position to pick a quarterback that they really like. Now, the Browns have options, obviously. They select number 1 overall and number 4 overall. Whether or not there is real smoke and, shall we say, real fire to this whole Saquon Barkley number 1 overall type rumor here, it remains to be seen. But I do argue that the Browns are going to go with a quarterback at number 1. There's no way in heck they're going Saquon at number 1. Now, there's a possibility they go Saquon number 4, but the Browns are going with a quarterback at number 1 overall, and make no mistake about that. Unless there's some weird circumstance where the Browns, for some reason, value all 4 of these quarterbacks on an equal plateau, and that they would be just fine with selecting any of those 4 at number 4 overall. So what I'm saying is, the Browns value Baker, Allen, Rosen, and Darnold all equally and say to themselves, and John Dorsey says to himself in the mirror, I'm okay with selecting any of those 4 at number 4 overall. Let's go out and get a generational player in Saquon Barkley at number 1. Now, do I see that happening? No, but I'm posing this theory to you guys just to keep in the back of your mind. Now, you are rolling the dice with the Giants and the Jets right behind the Browns here, say if you go Saquon number 1 overall, because who knows what the Giants will do. They may steal Rosen, and the Jets may steal Sam Darnold at that point, where they didn't really expect Sam Darnold to fall to number 3. So something to keep in mind there in terms of Baker Mayfield and really the Browns selecting at number 1 overall in general. All right, let's get to the next headline here. Speaking of top quarterbacks, the Jets recently met with Josh Allen. So with the team trading up to the number 3 overall pick, we know what the Jets want to do. I don't think it's a secret to anybody out there. They want a quarterback. And they're doing their due diligence here. Apparently, they are very impressed with Baker Mayfield. I recently did a mock draft. and had Josh Allen going to the Jets at number 3. I've been teetering back and forth in terms of Baker or Josh to the Jets, Josh Allen to be more specific, and I'm kind of leaning back towards Baker for my full-on mock draft. We'll see what happens in terms of my research and my feelings here. But one thing is for sure. The first 4 picks of the draft will undoubtedly dictate the flow of this first round here. For example, if the Browns go Darnold, Giants go Barkley, that would give the Jets plenty to choose from. But if the Browns go Darnold and the Bills make a big-time move, trade up to get to number 2, get Mayfield or Allen, that could put the Jets in a bind and maybe even force themselves to go in the Josh Rosen route if they really like him. So it's something to kind of keep in mind there. Josh Allen recently visiting with the Jets. As you see, pre-draft visits, of course, are very critical in this whole process. So I'll continue to have more visit updates on the Cam Rogers Show throughout the month as we lead you up to the 2018 NFL Draft. Let's get to the next draft headline. Joshua Jackson recently visited with the Chicago Bears. This went down yesterday. The Miami Dolphins are next. One of the top cornerbacks in the draft, a kid I really like, tall, lean, physical, well-coached, coming out of Iowa. Really a fantastic player. Now, despite my loving Jackson so much, I don't really love him to the Chicago Bears. I think they need to address that front 7. Edge rusher is a priority for sure, considering Pernell McPhee signed with the Redskins. The Bears did sign Aaron Lynch, but he's not all that great. You could look at inside linebacker as well, maybe get some depth there with Christian Jones moving on out. Now, the Dolphins would be an intriguing location because Xavier Howard stunk, and Cordea Tankersley struggled in his rookie year. So the Dolphins also have need at linebacker. I like Joshua Jackson a lot more to the Dolphins rather than to the Bears. So we'll see what happens with Jackson. He's going through his process of meetings and all of that. All right, so that's the latest with Joshua. Let's get to the Odell Beckham Jr. trade talk. So according to Adam Schefter, who is recently on Ross Tucker's podcast, the trade talk with Odell Beckham Jr. is, quote, absolutely real. Now, Beckham is entering his final year of his contract, of course. He wants to get paid big time, and he wants that extension with the Giants before the 2018 season goes on. So we'll see what happens in terms of that. I mentioned that later in the month, there could be a decision between Odell Beckham Jr. and the Giants. But Adam Schefter usually, when he says something, it's got pretty good backing to it. So the fact that he is saying that there is absolutely real talk with Odell Beckham Jr. and a potential trade, this is no shock to me. You look at what transpired during the owners' meetings, and it's kind of staggering. So we start things off with John Mara, the co-owner, condemning Odell Beckham Jr. for that leaked video of him surrounded by drugs in a hotel or whatever it was. So, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But obviously a crazy statement made by the co-owner. Then GM Dave Gettleman has a 2-minute prepared statement for reporters saying he won't comment on the matter. You may remember that. And then there was this report that the Giants want 2 first-round picks and then maybe more. So all of this kind of culminating into one here, where it's just this very odd ordeal, where you have John Mara saying one thing, and then Dave Gettleman is like, look, I'm not talking about Odell at all. I want to talk about football, even though that's football related. And then the report that the Giants want 2 first-round picks, maybe more than that. You know, it's one of those deals that there's a lot of smoke to all of this. So Gettleman may think that trotting out Odell without an extension is an option. It's not an option. Odell Beckham Jr., according to reports, will not set foot on a football field unless he gets that extension. And let me be clear on this. Dave Gettleman, if you don't extend Odell Beckham Jr., you're going to have to trade him. Now, Dave Gettleman has made headlines before for his interesting moves. Of course, you may remember he rescinded the tag for Josh Norman back in Carolina. He's the guy that recently orchestrated the trade with JPP. This guy isn't afraid to make moves and be a little aggressive. So maybe he kind of channels his inner trade aggressiveness, if you will, and end up trading Odell Beckham Jr. Now, as I've mentioned, there have been some contenders in all of this. I've talked about the Rams, talked about the Seahawks. Obviously, the Rams, you can count them out now because they got their guy in Brandin Cooks, somebody they value a lot, by the way. Now, for the 49ers, this could be an interesting little tangle here. A little NFC West arms race, if you will, between the Rams and the 49ers trying to stockpile talent onto their team. With Odell Beckham Jr. perhaps going to San Francisco, and the 49ers understand, and John Lynch probably understands, I got to make moves. I got to be aggressive. And, to improve upon things and compete with the LA Rams, I got to go out and get Odell Beckham Jr. So the trade talk is really real here. So we'll see what happens. I have a reaction poll for you guys. Are you buying in to the Odell Beckham Jr. trade rumors? Hit me up in the reaction poll. Give me a heart for yes and a like for no. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit me up in the comments section. And, of course, I'll be tracking what you guys say. And, of course, this is a developing story. Things are going to change. And we'll see what happens with Odell Beckham Jr., but I'll tell you one thing. If he goes to San Francisco, there's going to be quite a battle in the NFC West between the 49ers and the LA Rams. All right, so that's the latest with Odell. Let's check in with the Buffalo Bills and the latest in terms of their prospects to perhaps go out and grab a quarterback. Now, reportedly, they are trying like hell to draft a quarterback highly. Brandin Beane is the GM there, as you see him on your screen. Now, Jason La Canfora has chimed in on the matter, saying, quote, I'm convinced Brandin Beane will trade up twice more if he has to. He went on to say, it reminds me of Eagles general manager Howie Roseman a few years ago when he was moving up to land Carson Wentz. Now, the Bills have already shown ability to move on up in that draft because, of course, they traded away Cordy Glenn. Now they're at number 12 in terms of their higher pick in that first round. They also have a later pick in that first round. And I don't think they're done. And according to La Canfora, they're not done either on his mind. So with the Browns, Jets, and Giants all potentially going quarterback, wouldn't be surprising to me to see the Bills trade. In fact, they probably feel like they have to, right? With the Jets moving up to 3, the Bills are probably going to have to figure out a way to be like, all right, we have to trade with the Giants now. Maybe the Giants aren't all sold on Josh Rosen. Maybe they want to get to number 2, and the Giants are okay with moving back. Now, you may know or maybe not know, Brandin Beane and Dave Gettleman used to work together in Carolina. Brandin Beane used to work underneath Gettleman with the Panthers. So you got that connection there. Maybe we could see some sort of trade there. What should the Bills do with quarterback in the draft? Who should they draft? Who's the best fit? Is it Lamar? Josh Allen? Maybe Baker Mayfield? Let me know in the comments section here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. And we certainly appreciate when you guys chime in here on the Cam Rogers Show. That's the latest with the Bills. Hey, the Cardinals signed a wide receiver. Let's take a look at this guy, Brice Butler, now a member out there in the Big Toaster, former Dallas Cowboy, and obviously adding much-needed depth to the wide receiver group that features Larry Fitzgerald, J.J. Nelson, and that's really it. Now, Arizona lost Jerron Brown and John Brown to free agency. John Brown, of course, a member of my Baltimore Ravens now. So, you got that. Butler was primarily, though, a role player for the Dallas Cowboys in 2017. Perhaps it's no coincidence, though. He had his best game with the Cowboys last year against the Arizona Cardinals when he had 2 receptions for 90 yards and 37-yard touchdown grab that helped him give the Cowboys a 21-14 lead in the fourth quarter. Dallas went on to win that game. So I guess that's all Arizona needed to see to buy into Brice Butler. Now, the Cardinals, they're not done yet. Apparently, they have an offer on the table for Jordan Matthews. We'll get to that headline in a matter of moments. But Brice Butler, now a member of the Arizona Cardinals. Let's check in with the Atlanta Falcons. I haven't really had much news on them recently, but Matt Ryan is reportedly close to an extension. GM Thomas Dimitroff went on a local sports radio and noted the Falcons and Matt Ryan are close. And Dimitroff, of course, acquired Ryan a decade ago with that 3rd overall pick, and it looks like Matty Ice is going to get paid pretty darn soon. Now, that franchise tender in 2019 ain't very cheap, $25 million around that amount. In 2020, it's going to be $31 million. So timing is everything. And you could make the argument that the Kirk Cousins deal has shifted the market for quarterbacks. Ryan's agent may want more than the $84 million that Kirk Cousins got over that 3-year span. So Matt Ryan is slated to make $76.4 million over the next 3 years if you want to kind of incorporate these tenders here for 2019 and 2020. So what the Ryan camp may do, along with the Falcons leadership here, is to strike some sort of balance between $76 million and $84 million. So why is that? The 84, of course, the Kirk Cousins money. The $76 million would kind of be that baseline amount that Matt Ryan would make if he were tendered for the next 2 years. So there you go. Matt Ryan, ranking among, I'd say, top 10 among quarterbacks in the NFL. I put him in that conversation. But we have a weigh-in for you guys watching. Let me know, where does Matt Ryan rank among quarterbacks in the NFL? Certainly a question that I want to bring up to you guys because it seems like the quarterback market is shifting constantly. And if you have Kirk Cousins as the richest man at the position, and then Jimmy Garoppolo, and then Matt Stafford, and then Derek Carr, I mean, obviously you would not rank those 4 quarterbacks 1, 2, 3, 4. Nobody would. So with that, I want to know where you guys think Matt Ryan ranks among quarterbacks in the NFL, and we want you guys weighing in because you are part of the Cam Rogers Show just as much as I am. So be sure to let me know in the comments section. DeMarcus Ryan going to get all that money. I'm telling you, he will. Dimitroff says they're pretty darn close. I think they will strike that deal. I don't know if it's going to be Kirk Cousins type of money, but we'll see. All right, let's check in with another quarterback, my quarterback. Joe Flacco, set to get some extra work in with the wide receivers now in Baltimore. John Brown, Michael Crabtree, some new additions for the Ravens. John Harbaugh recently saying that he wants Flacco to put extra time in with these wideouts. Obviously, because of John Brown and Michael Crabtree, but also because Joe Flacco missed a lot of time in the offseason last year due to that back injury that he had. Missed the entire preseason, missed a good amount of camp as well. So with all that time missed, I think it really affected him in his performance in 2017, and who really knows if he was 100% healthy either. So Flacco, in terms of his history, typically hasn't worked with receivers on his own time, but coming from a Ravens fan, I argue that he should. The Ravens are heading into a make-or-break 2018, where I think Harbaugh's job is likely on the line. And if he doesn't perform, talking about Flacco, talking about Harbaugh, talking about many other people, a lot of the Ravens players could be on the chopping block. But in terms of the coaching staff, John Harbaugh especially, the Ravens are on a 3-year playoff drought. All right, and this is an organization that, enjoyed consistent success in the postseason, but at this juncture, haven't really had much of it. So the Ravens have been active trying to, bolster the weaponry there for Joe Flacco with Michael Crabtree and John Brown, and they still have Perriman, who, Ravens fans are still waiting on. They got Chris Moore as well. But for Joe Flacco and John Harbaugh, the heat is on. So Flacco set to get some extra work in with the receivers that he now has. Let's check in with a receiver. Eric Decker, reportedly interested in the Broncos. He talked about it recently on a local Denver sports radio station, actually with host Brandin Stokely. How about that? Saying that he would love a reunion and that the stars would essentially have to align for all that to happen, but Denver's very homely to him, would love to return. There's the quote, the stars have to kind of align for it to all work, but I'm very receptive to make it happen. The Broncos made Decker a 3rd-round pick in 2010. He spent 4 years in Denver before signing with the Jets in free agency. In 4 years with the Broncos, Decker has 222 receptions, over 3,000 yards, and 33 touchdowns to his credit. Obviously not the same receiver he once was, but I think the Denver Broncos could bring him in on a cheaper kind of deal, and nobody hates a homecoming, right? Frank Gore heading on back to Miami. That was a nice little homecoming free agency signing for the Miami Dolphins. Maybe Decker goes back to Denver. So something to keep an eye on there. He's certainly open to the idea. All right, I talked about Jordan Matthews earlier. There is an offer on the table for him from the Arizona Cardinals. Apparently, Matthews isn't exactly jumping for joy on this because, well, he recently visited the Packers and the Patriots, and he's got a visit with the Titans upcoming as well. So maybe the Cardinals are kind of far down the Jordan Matthews priority list, but there you go. Arizona, desperate for wide receivers. They did sign Brice Butler, but it's Larry Fitzgerald and Brice Butler and J.J. Nelson. Doesn't exactly inspire a lot of confidence if you are Sam Bradford or Mike Glennon or whoever the quarterback is going to be for the Cardinals. So there's an offer on the table for Jordan Matthews. He's an okay receiver. Never really been a big Matthews fan. Maybe it's because he's burned me sometimes in fantasy football. Coming off an injury-plagued 2017, too. How about this, guys? Jordan Matthews went through 3 surgeries in 2017. Thumb surgery in October. In December, he underwent back surgery, he went through left knee surgery and right ankle surgery. This guy has been beaten and battered for years. So we'll see how much money he can actually get here. He caught only 25 passes for 282 yards and a touchdown in 10 games for the Buffalo Bills before going on injured reserve. So Jordan Matthews, he's got a market from one team at the very least, and perhaps the Titans could offer him something. Maybe the Patriots want to bring him in, especially after the Brandin Cooks departure via the trade, and maybe the Green Bay Packers give him an offer that Jordan Matthews can't refuse. So that's the latest with Matthews. Let's check in with a tight end now. Jordan Reed. Speaking of surgery and injuries, this guy has undergone toe surgery. Yes, Jay Gruden recently told the media on this that Reed went through a procedure on his toes, hoping that he can be 100% for camp. I don't know if I can full-on believe that because Jordan Reed has been often injured. He missed 10 games last season, but with a new quarterback in town in Alex Smith, I think getting on the page here is really important for Reed on that same token with Alex Smith coming on over from the Kansas City Chiefs via a trade. Now, from a fantasy perspective, keep this in mind. I know it's only April, but Reed could be a really sneaky tight end in fantasy football. Smith loved throwing to Travis Kelce. I'm going to assume he's going to love throwing to Jordan Reed. Now, the big-time caveat is the injury history there with Reed. But in such a shallow position like tight end, where it's Gronk, Kelce, and everybody else, maybe Graham, he kind of has a revamped season with the Packers, you know, you can kind of pick up Jordan Reed probably way late in your draft and be happy about it. So some solid value there for Jordan as I get on my fantasy football tangent.